Have you ever stopped to wonder why a jolt of fear feels the way it does? Or a pang of guilt? Or a huge wave of joy? Well, it turns out these feelings, they're not random at all. Nope, they're actually part of an ancient toolkit, something passed down to us through millions of years of evolution. So let's dive in and unpack the really deep history of why we feel.
Really think about that for a second. You could have a toddler in Tokyo or an elder in the middle of the Amazon. If they bite into something spoiled, they're going to do the exact same thing. They scrunch up their nose, curl their lip, maybe stick out their tongue. How is it that this one reaction is so universal?
And that's the big idea right there. Our emotions aren't just these fluffy feelings we have. They are super highly tuned inherited programs, and they're designed to solve critical life-or-death problems that our ancestors had to deal with over and over and over again.
And you know who first started putting all these pieces together? None other than Charles Darwin. Yeah, way before we had things like brain scans or DNA sequencing, he had this hunch that our emotional expressions were a huge clue to our deep, shared past with the entire animal kingdom.
Just listen to that. That observation from way back in 1872 is just incredible. Darwin noticed that, a happy chimp and a happy baby kind of share the same grin. A threatened dog and a threatened person both bare their teeth in a similar way. This wasn't just him being poetic. This was a real scientific hypothesis about a universal language of emotion.
So that powerful idea eventually grew into what we now call basic emotion theory. The whole concept is that we aren't born with this endless, confusing mess of feelings. Instead, we come prepackaged, equipped with a small set of core emotions. We're talking fear, anger, joy, and each one of them evolved to do a very, very specific job.
So, how in the world did a useful action become an automatic feeling? Well, Darwin had a name for it, the principle of serviceable associated habits. Let's use disgust. So step one of our ancient ancestors voluntarily spits out some poisonous food, right, to survive. Step two, over thousands of generations, that life-saving action becomes an automatic habit whenever they taste something bad. And then finally, step three, that habit gets hardwired into our genes, passed down as that involuntary face of disgust we all know. So the key here is that the face of disgust is basically the ghost of an ancient life-saving action.
Okay, so if our emotions are adaptations, what exactly are they adapting for? You can think of each one as a specialized tool in our evolutionary toolkit, each one perfectly designed to handle a very specific survival challenge. And when you think about it this way, it totally changes how you see your own feelings. They're not weaknesses, they're weapons. They're not bugs in our system, they are the original features. So let's break down what each of these tools actually does. This table just lays it out so clearly. Each emotion is a tool, and each tool has a job. So take fear. Its job? Avoid danger. How does it do it? By widening our eyes to take in more light and information and getting our muscles ready to run. Or anger. That's the tool for managing a threat. It literally sends blood to our hands so we're ready for a fight. And look at guilt. That's a social tool. Its job is to maintain our membership in the group, to solve that ancient problem of being cast out. It motivates us to go and repair our relationships.
Let's circle back to our star example here, disgust. It is such a perfect case study. That scrunched up nose, that's you closing your nostrils to block out foul, potentially toxic smells. The curled lip and the tongue sticking out, that's your body getting ready to expel something that could literally kill you. It is your body's original built-in poison detector.
All right, let's get into the evidence. For this whole theory to really work, these emotional expressions can't just be useful. They have to be universal. They have to be a true, shared language for all of humanity.
And this is the million-dollar question, right? Couldn't we just be learning how to smile from watching our parents? Or learning to look angry from watching movies? How can scientists possibly separate what's hardwired in us from what our culture teaches us?
Well, they came up with a really strict checklist. For an emotion to be considered truly basic, it has to meet all four of these conditions. First, it has to be universal in all cultures. Second, it's got to show up really early in life, before a baby could be taught it. Third, it needs to cause the exact same changes in the body and in behavior, no matter where you are in the world. And finally, that pattern of changes has to be totally unique for each emotion.
Okay, so after you apply that really tough filter, which of our many, many feelings actually make it onto the list? Which ones are part of this core universal set? Well, this is where things get really interesting. The honest truth is there isn't one single perfect list that every single scientist agrees on. But, and this is a big but, what they do agree on is that there is a small core group of these basic emotions. And they've come up with some absolutely incredible visual models to try and map them out.
And here is one of the most famous ones. This is Robert Plutchik's Wheel of Emotions, and it's just a brilliant way to see our emotional world. Right there in the center, you've got the 8 core emotions: joy, trust, fear, surprise. And as you move outward from the center, the intensity gets lower. So ecstasy becomes joy, and then fades into serenity. You can even see how emotions that are next to each other combine to create more complex feelings, like joy and trust mixing to create love. It's like a map of our inner landscape.
And Plutchik wasn't the only one trying to draw this map. You've got these pioneers in the field like Paul Ekman. He's the guy who famously traveled the world proving these expressions were universal, and he landed on 7. Then there's Carl Izard, who proposed 10. The exact number? It's still a really fascinating debate. But the most important takeaway is that the core idea, that there's a small set of evolved, universal emotions, is widely accepted.
So, what does all of this mean for you, just in your day-to-day life? How can this ancient history completely reframe the way you experience your own feelings, like right now?
I think the most crucial thing to remember is this: your emotions have a purpose. They are not just chaotic noise happening inside you. That flash of anger you feel, or that wave of sadness, it's a message. It's a piece of ancient data bubbling up from your evolutionary history, trying to tell you something really important about what's going on around you. And honestly, looking at it this way is incredibly empowering. It lets you step back and look at your own feelings with curiosity instead of judging them. And it connects us all. I mean, when you realize that the fundamental emotions of a total stranger halfway across the world are running on the same basic software as yours, it just creates this profound sense of our shared humanity.
So I want to leave you with this one thought. The next time a really strong emotion washes over you, just try this. Pause for a second and ask yourself that question. What ancient problem is my body trying to solve right now? Is it trying to protect me from a threat? Is it trying to help me get rid of a poison? Is it trying to make sure I stay connected to my tribe? Viewing your feelings through that evolutionary lens, it doesn't just make you smarter about science. It makes you so much wiser about yourself.